Here's how you make the ever-popular no-knead bread. This recipe was first developed by a baker named Jim Leahy, and all you need is 1 gram or 1/4 teaspoon of yeast, 12 grams or 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 430 grams or 3 1/4 cups of bread flour, and 390 grams or 1 2/3 of a cup of warm water. Add the yeast and the salt to the flour, then mix. You can also use all-purpose flour instead. The main difference between the two is the amount of protein, which turns to gluten. Bread flour has more protein, which results in a slightly chewier loaf. Finally, pour in the water, then use your hands to gently bring the dough together. This is a high hydration dough, so be prepared for it to get quite sticky. Eventually, though, a smooth dough will form. At that point, cover with plastic wrap or a kitchen towel and let ferment for at least 12 hours. After fermentation, you should notice that the dough has doubled in size and is covered with lots of bubbles all over the surface. Using wet hands, gently separate the dough from the edges of the bowl, then grab about 1/4 of the dough, pull it up, and fold it back into the center. Rotate the bowl and continue like this several more times until all the dough has been separated from the bowl and folded into the center. That's all you have to do. Don't knead the dough like you would with other breads. When you're done folding, pour the dough into the center of a large piece of parchment paper. It should slide out easily and be in the shape of a rough circle. Next, place a bowl large enough to completely cover the dough and leave about 1 inch of extra space all around it over the dough. Let this sit at room temperature for another 2 hours. About 1 hour into resting, place a Dutch oven with a lid into a 450° Fahrenheit oven to preheat. We need it to get really hot for this bread to work. Once the dough has doubled in size, carefully remove the bowl. Some of the dough may stick to it, but if you pull away gently enough, it should spring right back. Lightly dust the top with flour, then you can use a pastry brush to brush away the excess. We really don't want to add too much flour here. This is just to prevent sticking. Brush away all the excess flour, then use a sharp knife to cut a slit down the center of the loaf. This will help steam to escape when it bakes. Carefully pick up the parchment paper with the loaf still on it and transfer the whole thing to your now smoking hot Dutch oven. Be careful not to touch the pan, instead use the edges of the paper to gently lower the dough into the pot. Place the lid on top, then return to the oven for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, remove the lid and you'll notice a nearly fully formed loaf of bread. Now return to the oven to get nicely browned for about 20 minutes. When it's done, you can use the overhanging parchment paper to easily remove the bread from the pan. The only minor downside to using parchment paper is that it does result in some little dents around the edges. If that really bothers you, you can remove the parchment paper before baking. Just make sure you lightly flour the bottom of the dough first. If you've got time, this is seriously one of the best and easiest bread recipes I've ever had, so you should give it a try. Check out these other great recipes and subscribe for new videos daily.